Welcome back. Have you ever wondered about how the stock market works? Have you ever pondered whether it's something you should learn about? This problem was designed to introduce you to some very basic investment terminology with the idea of piquing your interest. If you don't know much about investing, I would strongly encourage you to take a class or to read some books. We offer several classes on campus. The classes that may be interesting to you, if this problem does pique your interest, are Finance 125, which is a personal finance class, Finance 126, which is a stock market and investing class, or Finance 51, which is a retirement planning class, and that last one is only 9 weeks. If you're looking for a good book that's easy to read, consider Investing for Dummies. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. Of course, I don't think you're a dummy. But the Dummies series is an easy-to-read way of learning about different terms and how the stock market system works, without confusing the average reader. We have several copies in our library, or you can purchase it on Amazon, and it's relatively inexpensive. So let's get back to the problem at hand. In this problem, we will develop a stock portfolio for the owner of Harry's Happy Hat Hut. A portfolio is a grouping of financial assets, such as stocks, bonds, and cash equivalents. It can include mutual funds and other investments also. Portfolios are held directly by investors and/or managed by financial professionals. One reason I'm encouraging you to learn about how the stock market works is so that you can manage your own investments. In this problem, our small portfolio will consist only of large company stocks. So you should have read and printed out the directions for this problem. You should have a blank Excel screen in front of you, as you will be creating your own masterpiece from scratch. Along with exposing you to the basics of how stocks work, the objectives of this problem are to use proper model building techniques to create a simple stock portfolio, to be able to track basic stock activity and compute unrealized gains and losses, also to be able to compute ROI, or return on investment. Another goal or objective is to ensure that the template is flexible enough using an equals if statement to adjust for current activity, and also, as always, to create a chart. As you work through this problem, remember that you are earning points from scratch during the model building process, which means I will be awarding you points based on your planning, your documentation, your completeness, the accuracy of your work, of course the appearance, and on this one, large points will be awarded for how flexible your template is. The way you'll determine whether your template is flexible enough is when the test data is given to you, your entire answer section should recompute without you having to touch it. So let's keep going. Let's review some of the basics of stocks. This is a very brief overview due to the limited nature of the video. But again, my hope is it will pique your interest and you'll be interested in expanding your knowledge on your own. So a holder of stock is called a shareholder, and a shareholder has a claim to a part of the corporation's assets and earnings. In other words, a shareholder is an owner of the company, and ownership is determined by the number of shares a person owns relative to the number of outstanding shares. So I don't have time to start a bunch of businesses on my own. I do have several, but I don't have time to start businesses the way I would like. And so, to share in the wealth of other companies, I can go out on the open exchange and buy shares of ownership. In that way, although I'm not responsible for running the business, I am able to share in the earnings of the company as well as in things called dividends, which are kind of like a drawing for a sole proprietorship. Dividends are a way or a vehicle that companies share their profits with the shareholders. So stocks are traded by using a ticker symbol or a stock symbol that is a unique abbreviation to identify publicly traded shares of a particular stock on a particular stock market. A stock symbol may consist of letters, numbers, or a combination. It's easiest to research stock activity by the ticker symbol. But don't worry, if you don't know a stock's ticker symbol, you can easily look it up. And of course, I will demonstrate to you. So here's some stock basics. Please remember that this is just an overview, and my hope is that you will educate yourself on more of the details. So you buy some shares of stock at a given point in time. You hold the shares until you're ready to sell. You sell the shares at a desired point in time. Upon sale, you have what's called a realized gain or loss. In the interim, you have unrealized gains or losses. Sometimes you'll hear that referred to as paper gains or losses, as they're on paper but not clearly in cash in your hand. And of course, we will also be able to compute the ROI, or return on investment. In this problem, we will create a small stock portfolio for the owner of this small hat business. The owner purchased 2 lots of stock over 2 different periods of time. We will research the current price today of his stocks and compute 2 things: his unrealized gain or loss and the return on investment. Unrealized means the stocks have not yet been sold, but the gain or loss is computed as if they were sold on a designated ending date. You will have control of that date in this problem. When the market value is higher than the cost, then we have a gain. If the market value is less than the cost, then we have a loss. The return on investment, or ROI, is computed by taking the gain or loss and dividing by the original cost of the stock. And, as noted previously, realized just means that the actual gains and losses have occurred because the stock has actually been sold. There are multiple ways to research stock prices. There is a great deal of sites out there. I have notated 3 here that will be helpful to us, but I hope you'll take the time to check out each one. The 3 that I suggest you use are from a variety of sources and include The Motley Fool, Yahoo Finance, and CNN. Again, I would encourage you to stop the video and take a look at all 3. All 3 sites are shown on the slide with the appropriate web links. In the first part of this problem, you'll be given a stock portfolio to track for the owner of a small company. All the data you need to create the portfolio will be given to you in the handout. You will research the prices on the given stocks as of today or a day of your choosing, and compute the unrealized gains and losses, and you will also compute the return on investment. In the second part of the problem, in the test data, you will create your own stock portfolio using a mixture of stocks given, plus you will choose your own stocks from the Dow 30. This slide provides an overview of what the Dow 30 is. It's commonly referred to as just the Dow, or the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And this was created by the Wall Street Journal by an editor named Charles Dow, and that's how it's got its name, and by his business partner, Edward Jones. The index was developed as a simple mean of tracking U.S. market performance in an age when information flow was often limited. I know this is really hard for your generation to comprehend, but it's only been in recent years that tools like this have been at our fingertips. So I want you to understand what the Dow 30 is. And it's a spin-off of the Dow Jones Transportation Average, which primarily consisted of railroad issues in the early years. The Dow expanded to 30 stocks in 1928, where it remains today, but the composition of the index changes regularly as stocks and the industries it represents fall in and out of favor. The Dow 30 stocks occasionally change from time to time. At the present time, here are some of the companies making up the current Dow 30. I'm sure that you'll recognize most of the companies, so let's get busy with the Excel. So here's a copy of the handout that you should have printed out. And in the handout there are 10 specific companies, and you'll notice that there were 2 lots of purchases. The first 5 stocks were purchased on the 3rd of January in 2012. The last 5 stocks were purchased 2 years later on January 2nd of 2014. And you'll see the number of shares and you'll see the cost per share. I have researched these for you. By the way, if you decide that you would like to test out some of these costs, just remember that occasionally the data is adjusted for things such as stock splits. So it's okay if you look or research and get a slightly different cost, but for purposes of this project, just go ahead and use the cost that I've given to you. You will end up searching for the market prices. So let's get started. Here's the Excel spreadsheet. And as always, you want to make sure that you have the proper documentation items. Make sure that your name, the file name, and a brief description or purpose of the problem is included in the template. Create a data section, here you see mine, and an answer section, you'll see that down below. Most of the data section here is from the items in the handout. Let's take a moment to look at it. You'll see the name of the company, you'll be researching the ticker symbol, and the sites I gave you on the slide will help you do that. The dates of purchase were given, the number of shares were given, the cost per share was given, and the market price is something that you're going to look up today. I'll demonstrate to you how to do that. Again, notice that the stocks, let me go to the original section here. Notice that the stocks were purchased in 2 different lots on January 3rd, 2012 and on January 2nd, 2014. Again, I've looked up the actual costs of the shares. The market prices is what you're going to look up. So let's talk about how to research a market price. I gave you several sites to use. One of them was Yahoo Finance. So for example, once you're to the Yahoo Finance site, you can put the ticker symbol in. For Boeing, it's BA. If you didn't know that, you could type in the Boeing company and it will give you the ticker symbol. Or you can go to the Dow link that I gave you and it will list all the ticker symbols for you here. So this can be used to get the ticker symbols. The Yahoo Finance gives you more accurate price data. So I am looking up Boeing. I'll press the search box. It brings up a portfolio here. And right now, as of when the stock market last closed, the current price of Boeing is $256.46. So going back to my Excel spreadsheet, here's Boeing. You can see that when I researched the price in July, it was $201.48. So you can see just in the past few months how much Boeing has gone up. So you would replace that price with the price as of today. So I would type in $256.46 and everything down below is going to change. Document your price. All these prices should be looked up on the same day. So if today is October 31st when you're looking them up, you would type in as of 7/31. So you're going to go fill in the market prices of each stock. Down below in the answer section, you're going to head this up properly: who, what, when. The total cost is computed by taking the number of shares of the stock times the cost per share. So for Apple, I'll press in equals. I'll go take the number of shares multiplied by the cost per share and press enter. And again, here's my formula up in the formula box. And that will give me the total cost. And then the total market for Apple will be equal to the number of shares again, but this time you would multiply by the market price, which you'll research. Press enter, and here's the total market. So you can see, looking at just the Apple example, that we purchased that lot for $881, but the price today, or as of when I did this, as of July 6th, was $2,140. So you can see that we have a gain. So the first thing you'll do is you'll calculate the gain. And the gain is going to be equal to the market less the cost. You can see that the gain, I've made $1,200. And then you're going to have the computer decide whether it's an unrealized gain or loss. So here's my formula here. And what it says is if the market, this cell, is greater than the cost, this cell, then the computer will return the result of unrealized gain. And in the false result is it's an unrealized loss. So you'll create the formula for the first one, and you'll be able to compute it or drag it all the way down. The last thing you'll be calculating here is the return on investment, or ROI. And as mentioned in the video, that's equivalent to the gain or loss, which is here in E29, divided by the cost, which is sitting here in C29. So again, you would enter a formula that takes the gain or loss and divides by the cost. You'll format this as a percentage, and on that first stock, which I believe is Apple, we made 142% over that time period. Once you have those formulas, you'll drag them down to the rest of the stocks. You'll add up the total cost, the total market, the total gain or loss, and you'll recompute the unrealized gain or loss by taking the total portfolio here, gain or loss, divided by the cost. So on this portfolio, we would have had a gain of 130%. What kind of gains can you get on your savings accounts? Most of those are less than 0.5%. Okay, so now it's time for you to create your own portfolio. On the test data, you will choose some stocks according to the directions. 5 of these stocks can be stocks that you already have the data for, but the other 5 will be from any stocks of your choosing from the Dow 30 stocks. You will research the original costs of the 25 shares on January 2nd, 2014. I'll show you how to do that momentarily. And you'll compare that to the prices today. So you'll be entering the prices for the 10 stocks, and then down below you'll be computing the return on investment. Let me make that a little wider so you can see it. You'll be computing the return on investment. And again, these are real life companies with real live market data to give you some type of a perspective on whether you would have made or lost money over this period of time. So let me show you how to research the company's original cost. And again, there's a multitude of sites you can go to. I'm going to go to the Yahoo Finance. And again, I'm going to use Boeing. So you would go to find out what the stock was on, I believe the date was January 2nd, 2014. You can go to the Historical Data tab. And you can scroll down and put the dates in that you would like. My computer's taking a minute to catch up, so give me a second. And you can put in the date here. I'm going to press, I would like to see the date from January 2nd. Gives you a specific date format. Here it is. It wants 0102. 2014, and the end date, I'm going to put the same date in, 01/02/2014. I'll press done, and then I'll press apply. And here's the data it returned. You want the closing stock price. So here you see that it was 136.67. You'll go input that into the closing price. Here it is for Boeing, 136. Hold on one second. Get that out of the way. 136.67. The market price would be as of today, so you can go look that up. Once you've entered that data, if you've done this correctly, the entire template here should recompute by itself. So again, my portfolio is done as of July 6th. Yours will be done as of a recent day in the past few days. So I want you to understand that much of America's wealth has been accumulated via the stock market. It's one way where you can share in the business opportunities of this country. In other words, you can own a piece of as many companies as you want, as far as your finances will allow. With proper research and planning, there's no reason why you cannot develop a portfolio of wealth. But as with anything, you must first educate yourself. Hope you find this problem enlightening, and of course, I'm here to answer any questions. As always, check the problem according to the directions. In fact, double check it. Make sure your work prints out properly. Although I won't be printing it out, I will be assessing as part of your appearance what it would look like if it were printed out. You may have to set up the page in landscape or portrait. You may have to adjust margins. You may have to adjust the centering. That's all part of the appearance points. After double checking that you've completed all parts of the problem, upload only one file to me through Canvas. And as always, check to make sure that if any discussion post applies to this problem. Talk to you soon.